Hi, you guys. Yesterday we left off at chapter 10. Let me put my face. Hi, good morning, everyone. We left off at chapter 9, and I said I'll start with chapter 10. So let me start. I hope you guys are doing fine. How is your Tuesday? Tuesday is like a weird day. It's like Tuesday. Anyways, let's get started. So, chapter 10, setting up BMK Industries. In November 1987, my father died. Oh. A week before he passed on, he had come to the Hotel Africana building site, which was just being leveled. After the site inspection, he offered to pray for me. I remember I was with my brother Kasule. Somehow, those were his farewell prayers. After the prayers, he said, I am glad that you are like me. And then added prophetically, I am sure you will manage well when I am gone. 4 days later, he was dead. We were away with my brother Kasule Kiza on a trip to Japan when it happened. So I did not bury him. I remember we had passed through London, so it took longer to get to Japan. Communication then was not like today, when you can access your different platforms from anywhere in the world. But I eventually got the sad news. However, I felt the real pain 2 weeks later when I returned on landing at Entebbe Airport. That is when the great loneliness hit me, knowing that now I had no one to share my manly secrets with. I no longer had someone like him to share my joys and sorrows equally deeply. Someone to take help me take the burdens off my mind when they became unbearable. I had my siblings and mother, all right, but this was different. Father had so much experience in business and life generally that he could solve any puzzle thrown at him. He was now normal. It was painful to take it, but the Baganda say even the one who has lost a loved one does not spend the night sleeping at the graveside. I had to soldier on. There was no alternative. In some ways, I am different from the many people in the way I relate with others. As I mentioned earlier, I have never been one for social clubs and I am not a football fan. I like working out in the gym and I used to enjoy some motor rallying, boxing, and wrestling. In 1978, I started following rally cars on the routes. Then one day while in Kenya around 1983, I followed a rally car for quite a distance. I was driving a Toyota Carina twin turbo when the rally driver stopped to refuel and rest a bit. He called me aside. He told me I was driving at a very high speed in a street car, yet for him, he was in a car designed for rallying with bars that could ensure his safety in case he rolled it. He told me that in case I had an accident like that, I would die. I always listen to advice, and this one struck a chord. So that was the time I followed cars mimicking rally drivers. When I returned to Uganda from exile, I continued enjoying rally cars and became a sponsor of some drivers. Badru Chirowa, one of my staff, was a skilled driver. So I bought him a car and sponsored everything. He won a few trophies, but we were spending a lot of money which we could not afford. When you sponsor a rally driver, you buy the car, like I have just said, buy another for transporting the car and spare parts, pay mechanics, fuel, tires, and cover accommodation, among other things. It was expensive, but I enjoyed rallying. However, a friend told me that I was competing with global brands in sponsoring rally cars. companies with enormous resources than I can ever imagine. He said if I did not scale down, I would even fail to complete my hotel. Again, I listened, and what he said was making sense. So I stopped sponsoring rally cars. Now, with motor rallying out of the way, my social interactions remained quite limited. The passing of my father and confidant therefore hit me badly. I therefore immersed myself in my other passion, traveling and exploring the world, especially in trade fairs. You learn a lot of things. You learn a lot of things. You get exposure, which is key if you want to succeed. Excuse me. I encourage people to travel. And so it was at trade fair in South Korea in 1981 that I found a machine for making polythene bags that impressed me. Once loaded with the granules, it would make the bags, blow them, shape and print on them. The machine was on demonstration, and without calculating the risks, I placed an order. Back in Kampala, I set up the plant of Ginger Road and started production at the place that later became famously known as Club Silk and later New Vision, a government newspaper. I had not done enough calculation, and it became clear that the venture was not that viable as the raw materials, the granules, were expensive. The new BMK Industries had gotten off at a shaky start. In Uganda, polythene shopping bags are called kavera, singular, and buvera, plural. I embarked on a search for appropriate raw materials while on a business trip in Dubai in 1990. I saw a kavera I liked, and the imprint indicated it was made by Al Sadiq Industries. I read the phone number on the kavera and called them. They gave me the directions to their premises, and I went there immediately. Once at Al Sadiq Industries, I said I wanted to see the owner. Naturally, they asked me, naturally, they asked what for, and I refused to tell them, but insisted that he is the only one I had come to see. We spent hours arguing, but I refused to disclose the reason of my visit and insisted I had to see the owner. Finally, they relented and took me to the man himself, Muhammad Al Sadiq. He is a giant of a man who looked towering in his Arabic robes, even to me at my size. We exchanged the salam alaikum. At first, he was hard and demanded to know what I wanted, but I simply told him that I had bought a production line and I needed affordable raw materials. He interviewed me about the details of the machine. Fortunately, I had some photos of the machine, and it was being demonstrated in Korea and others as it had been assembled in Kampala. He was convinced about the genuineness of my case and said simply and abruptly, "Okay, come and see my factory." Just like that, he took my hand and gave me a detailed tour of his factory. It was big, with different types of machines. So big was his operation that the materials he used in 1 hour were what I needed for month's supply. He showed me the different machines and finally led me back to his office. Once in the office, he put a direct question to me. "Are you honest?" I also gave him a direct answer without hesitation. Yes. He asked me about the market I was targeting. I told him about the type of kavera then popularly used in Uganda under roofing tiles and sheets, as well as in the basement of buildings in the construction industry, which was now picking up in the country. I also briefed him about the shopping bags and other packaging like for bread. Honestly, he told me that the virgin raw material cannot be viable in doing what I wanted in my market. What you need is recycled raw material, if you are to compete with others in the same business, he explained. I'll sell you recycled raw material from cut-offs, from offcuts for your purpose as half the price of virgin raw materials. Had I had him right, more was still coming. On credit, he added, this at our first meeting. An unscheduled meeting. Sometimes even I cannot believe how lucky I am. And I keep thanking God. To succeed, you need luck, but you must look for the luck. But the man was not done. He was still showering me with blessings. He took me to his store of old machines and he was changing to new electronic technology and showed them to me, explaining the specifications and capabilities of each. Then he offered to sell me the one I needed at an extremely low price. Even when presented with a pleasant surprise, it does not hurt to press your luck a little harder. Will you train my staff? I asked. Yes, I will, he answered. On all machines, old and new. Sure, he assured me. He also offered me the services of his engineer, a Filipino expert who was failing to cope with the high temperatures of Dubai. Mr. Aquino thus became my first expatriate staff. After the meeting, I just rushed back to my hotel room and thanked God profusely. And a permanent and very fruitful relationship with Al Sadiq thus started. Once in Uganda, I immediately sent two of my mechanics to Al Sadek for 2 months. He trained them and looked after them. I only paid for their tickets. Everything else was on Al Sadek. I returned to Dubai and selected the machines I wanted. For a start, Al Sadek gave me 2 containers of raw materials on credit. And the man kept helping me throughout the time I was in the Kavera business until I finally quit several years later under pressure, but having made a good profit from it. I had built a fully fledged factory for it at Ntinda Industrial Area. Al Sadiq and I became exceptionally good friends. He loved me like a brother. One day I was in transit from the United States with my wife, daughter, and mother. When we stopped by, Al Sadiq welcomed us warmly and declared to my mother, I am your son. He proceeded to buy expensive radio watches for the four of us. We are still remarkably close friends, though as we age, he is becoming weak. Last time I visited, Al Sadiq gave me a Quran because of the respect we have for our holy book. As he signed on it, he told me never to give it away, saying I may not see him again. Finally, he passed away in 2018. His soul rest in peace. I should remember him through that copy. Uganda is an interesting country. As the economy picked up and consumption grew, demand for Kavera also rose. The environmental lobby for banana Kavera started and gathered momentum. In all this, BMK was the prime target as the one who had bought the Kavera menace. Because of the generational indiscipline, the public were not disposing the Kavera properly. Do they dispose anything well in Uganda? And yet it is not biodegradable. Eventually, I was forced to sell the factory cheaply. Hold on. I hope I'm not distracting you. Am I distracting you? Okay.
I'll wear this.
Okay. And while we were what was that? And yet it is not biodegradable. Eventually, I was forced to sell the factory cheaply. In the confused state of affairs, while the Uganda government bans Kavera, Uganda Investment Authority keeps licensing new investors to enter the Kavera business. And while they were harassing me and a couple of other manufacturers, we were only producing a small percentage of Kavera, and 90% of the market was being imported. It was all muddled up, and so I just got out. I left when there were 4 companies making Kavera, and now there are 30, as the National Environment Management Authority keeps fighting Kavera while other arms of government protecting it. Yet as of today, all the neighboring countries, Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, have banned the Kavera. In the period between 1986 up to 2003, I engaged in so many businesses simultaneously. I was very energetic and I was lucky to have Haruna managing things as I moved all over the globe. One of the landmarks attained in that period was the opening of BMK Health Club in 1989, the first modern gym in Kampala City. We thus pioneered the provision of exercise and fitness facilities to the public and thus set the trend. Many new health clubs have since been opened in the country. But in all that period, the main objective which I fulfilled to fully fund the construction of Hotel Africana without borrowing a single shilling. It is the largest hotel in Uganda with more rooms than any other and more conference facilities. Its location is simply ideal. Its success is not only a source of satisfaction to me, its owner. It should be an inspiration to local Ugandans. The only 2 comparable hotels in the city were all built by Ugandan government using taxpayer funds and are currently trading under international names. Hotel Africana was built by private funds of an individual Ugandan. I say Hotel Africana is the biggest because we have many facilities which include 231 rooms comprising 5 suites, 103 deluxe rooms, 117 twin bedrooms, and 32 serviced apartments. The hotel has 15 conference rooms, including the one that can seat 3,500 people without tables in a theater arrangement. This is huge. That is why it was named Hotel Africana and Convention Center. I will expound more on this in the chapter on Hotel Africana. Chapter 11. Chapter 11, Flying at Supersonic Speed. In 1995, while at a transit hotel near Heathrow Airport, I heard an unfamiliar noise from a plane. It was so loud that most of us in the hotel woke up. I moved close to the window to see what was happening. It was the sonic boom of a Concorde taking off. Unlike other planes, the Concorde looked different with a very sharp and elongated nose that made it look like like a military plane. It was so fast and the exhaust system at its back was red hot. Unlike other planes, within seconds it had disappeared into the London sky. I was mesmerized. The next day, while a friend was taking me to the airport, the same thing happened. A Concorde was taking off. I asked him to stop on the side so I could marvel at it. The road was near the airport, so I saw it disappearing into the sky at a speed you can only imagine. I wanted to be on that plane so badly. Then I had a trip to Canada via London and New York in 1996. I was traveling with Hadia, my cousin, Bull's wife, my sister, the late Aisha Najingo, and my friend, the late Hood Mayanja. This was my chance to fly Concorde. I asked my travel agent to book me on Concorde between the London and the New York sector. I paid $6,400 for a round trip from Entebbe instead of the roughly 2,500 that I would have paid had I not used the Concorde between London and New York. This I can never forget. It was a lot of money, but I had to do it. When I arrived in London, the other people left for New York and I remained behind. I took my Concorde flight hours later and they found me waiting for them in New York. I did not find Concorde comfortable at all though. You cannot compare it with the A380 Airbus, for example, or a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. You had to strap yourself in a bucket seat eh, that is like one you find in a rally car, and once the plane reached the cruising level, the pilot would announce that he was going to accelerate the plane and make it go faster. At some stages, you would literally have your heart in your head. The Concorde took 2.5 hours from London to New York as opposed to the 7 hours and a half minutes the conventional passenger planes took. Instead, the Concorde, the seats were arranged in a 2-2-2 format, which means each row had 4 people, 2 each side of the aisle. We were 66 passengers on the flight. Pilots were not enclosed in their flight cabin, so we were able to see everything the pilots were doing. In the pocket in front of my seat, there was a certificate which you filled, and the pilot signed to confirm that you were on the flight. I have been looking for that certificate, but I cannot find it. I am proud that I am able to achieve this. It was one of my desires the first time I saw the Concorde. The Concorde was a flying masterpiece that many dreamed of flying. It moved at supersonic speed. Its top speed was what is this? 2.4. That is twice the speed of sound. At Mach 2.4, it means that the Concorde had the capacity to move at 1.600 miles or 2,400 kilometers per hour. The Concorde was operated through a joint venture involving the British and the French governments. My reading tells me that it first started operating in 1969 and ceased operation in 2003 after a crash of Air France flight, that one, in which all passengers and the crew died. This accident that sparked the end of the operations of this flying wonder happened on July 25th, 2000, when the Concorde ran over debris on the runway during takeoff, leading to the blowing of a tire and puncturing the plane's fuel tank, which caused a fire and engine failure. There were 100 passengers and 9 crew. It was crashed into a hotel 2 minutes after taking off, killing an extra 4 people there. I have been able to travel all major countries in the world on all continents apart from Russia. Traveling is particularly important for any business person who can afford it. You learn a lot of stuff and get opportunities to meet people. Every time I travel and sleep in a hotel, I learn something which is helpful for my hotel business that I run. Exhibitions are the area from which you contact people in your industry, sometimes selling technologies and other things that make your business to the next level. Flying flying business class also offers networking opportunities as you meet many people, the majority of whom are captains of industries and government executives. In my travels around the world, I have not seen an airport as beautiful, clean, and smart as Singapore Changi Airport. Most reviews rate it as the best airport in the world, and they are not lying. Everything is clean, and there are lots of activities that one can do while there. If you are interested in movies, for example, there are world-class cinemas where latest movies are shown. At a small fee, a passenger can shed off jet lag by swimming at the Balinese pool. The internet is free and there are stations in case you did not carry your own device. There are also gardens where you can relax, and it's not just the airport. In my view, Singapore is the cleanest city in the world. It's true. It's so true. Chewing gum is illegal. If you have time, the airport organizes a free tour for you of Singapore. Like the airport, Singapore, which is a city state, it's clean and modern. It is a financial center in Asia and one of the most progressive countries in the world. Surprisingly, Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore's first prime minister and the man credited for the country's turnaround, said that the blueprint for the developing Singapore was copied from Uganda. Oh, wow. This is said in his book titled From Third World to First, The Singapore Story in 1965 to 2000. He also took a lot of other stuff like tropical plants to make the country more beautiful. Today, Singapore has the world's best airport, as voted several times by the reputable newspapers like by the Telegraph of the UK and Skytrax, an organization that carries out surveys from international travelers about airports, airlines, and other elements of air travel. Skytrax has rated Changi as the best airport in the world for many years. Singapore as a city-state is a small country. Its size is the equivalent of parts of the Greater Kampala, a radius that connects Entebbe, Mpiji, and Mukono, but it is such a beautiful, clean country. You will not find anybody eating anything and throwing litter on the street, even if it is as small as chewing gum wrapper. Its roads are lined with trees, which somehow form a canopy, creating a great charming view and offering much needed shade when the sun is at its most blistering. When you are in Singapore, you want to be on the boulevards any day. It is one of those countries I encourage people to visit. It has perfect weather and it is an island that lies 137 kilometers north of the equator and between the Malay Peninsula and the Riau Islands of Indonesia. Malaysia is to its north. Okay, you guys. Okay, today I've done 2 chapters. It was a short read today. So I don't think there is much to talk about here. So see you guys tomorrow. Yeah. See you guys tomorrow in chapter 12.